What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Universal Mastery. Welcome back to my public YouTube channel. And today we have a very important and a very interesting, valuable, and deep subject that we're going to be going into. This is going to offer a lot of perspective and a lot of different insights on this subject today, which you probably can tell from the title of the video. We are going to be talking about how to get through a breakup. Okay, how to get through a breakup, how do you recover from heartbreak, all of these different types of things. These are things that I have personal life experience with many times over. It's not an easy process. I have a lot of clients that have been through this as well. So I work with other people, helping them understand this whole process and how to better resolve it inside of themselves. So whether you're someone that's going through a breakup right now, or you're someone that's been through a breakup and it's still weighing heavy on you, or maybe you're in a relationship where you can feel like it's probably going to end, this is exactly the video that's for you. We're going to be going into this. If you're interested, then I highly, highly recommend you stay tuned, and I will see you on the other side. Okay, so let's go ahead and get right on into the subject today. So we are talking about the tough subject of breakups, okay? First and foremost, this is not an easy thing to go through. This is one of the hardest things to experience, especially if you love the other person and if the other person loves you. And, you know, the way that relationships can sometimes function, it can be quite traumatizing, and it can be, extremely painful to kind of have a bond with someone and then certain wounds surface up that then lead to a separation between you and that person, where, for a period of time, you may not feel like you're loved by that person anymore, or that person may not feel that you love them either. So then it's just a bunch of protective mechanisms that are kind of operating. So what is the first thing that you want to know when it comes to a breakup? Okay, and how to move through this in a healthy, grounded, and integrated way. The first thing that you need to know is this: nothing happens for no reason. Okay, this is the first principle that we want to understand. Nothing happens for no reason. What this means is that if you went through a breakup, there is a reason why that took place. This was not random. This isn't necessarily something that you did wrong or something that you did bad and something that you should guilt yourself for or shame yourself for. It just simply means that you and the other person were at a certain point where both of you did not have capacity to hold together the relationship, however that manifested. The second point that we need to understand with this is when there is true love in a relationship, there may be separation, but love always finds a way to come back together. Okay, so what this means is that if you've gone through a separation, maybe you've been abandoned by someone, maybe you broke off from someone because you couldn't take it anymore. Whatever the case is, if there is real love in that relationship dynamic, love always finds a way of coming back together. So what that means is that if the breakup happened, that only then offers as time for both people to kind of heal in their own separate space to eventually be able to come back together and work through some of these things. All right. Now, the next thing that we want to understand is that yes, relationships are challenging. There's no such thing as a true relationship that does not go through significant challenges. Sorry, I just had to check my phone real quick. There is no such thing as a relationship that doesn't go through significant challenges. Now, in a relationship, what is going to be happening is there is going to be a lot of different types of reflecting that is going to be taking place. Now, this reflecting is going to be happening between both individuals. So it's going to be from one person to the other, and what you're often going to be reflecting, especially in the beginning stages of a relationship, which is within the first year to 2 years to 3 years even, which is the foundation building stages, is you're going to be reflecting a lot of traumas and a lot of different wounds to each other. So a lot of the different core wounds that you might have, these are the things that are going to be surfaced and that are going to directly be surfacing and reflecting coming off of each of you that are in this relationship. This is why this can make this so challenging and so hard when you get into one, because you might have a pretty grounded sense of self-identity on your own, and your partner might have a pretty grounded sense of self-identity on their own, and you come together, you mesh well, you appreciate each other, you like each other, you learn to develop a love for each other, and then the relationship gets a little bit more intimate, it gets a little bit more deep, and then eventually you end up moving in together, and then next thing you know, there's a significant heaviness that manifests. There's a sense of you are losing your sense of self-identity. There's a disillusionment that starts to take place, almost like a deconstruction of the identity itself, and a need to feel these emotions that are now in your system when you're in close quarters with the person that you're in a relationship with, that is now reflecting back to you core wounds. So this is actually something that does happen. This is something that is quite natural when it comes to relationships, which is important to understand. But this is also where there can be a lot of trial and error in relationships, and this is where a lot of relationships break. Okay, so this is important to understand. Most relationships do not make it through the foundation building stage. So within that first 1 to 3 years, most relationships end in that time. They go through a cycle of the honeymoon phase. When you get together, everything's fun, it's exciting, it's new, you appreciate each other's identities, you're having a lot of sex, you're enjoying yourselves, you're going on dates. And then once that dies down, whether that's happening within a period of 3 months up to a year, that eventually dies down, and then the real stuff starts coming through. Okay, this is when the deeper reflections start to manifest and the triggers start to take place. And obviously the goal is to be able to work with your partner and work through those triggers, etc., and be able to feel through those things and have a healthy communication and a healthy cooperation and an understanding together in a partnership. Now, most relationships don't make it through the trigger phase because obviously when you start to lose your sense of self-identity, that's scary and that's challenging. And a lot of people's response is to end that process. And I can understand why that takes place. Now, if you can make it through that phase, the trigger phase, the real phase, then eventually, let's say 3, 4, 5 years down the line, you can have a much stronger commitment, a much stronger connection that is much more grounded. And that's when the light starts to peek through again and you start to rebuild your sense of self again while you're with your partner. Okay. And then at that point, you can talk about having a family and you can talk about all these other wonderful core values. Now, this is the thing. Most of you listening to this are going through breakup right now. So what that means is you didn't make it to that phase. And I want you to know once again that this is a challenging thing and it's okay. Okay, there's a lot of people, I've experienced it myself many times, that get into relationships that oftentimes aren't in alignment with your core values. And when you're in a relationship with someone who's not in alignment with your core values, it is literally not going to last. Okay, which means that that relationship is going to be a stepping stone, meaning that person is going to reflect certain things for you to experience and for you to see as well as feel that are very important for you to be with, because the energetic resonance within your nervous system is what attracted that stepping stone relationship in the first place. So some people think when they go through these big breakups that they wasted their time and that it just leaves them more broken and more hurt, and it's just a big hardship on life. And yeah, it is hard, but the reality is this is actually an amazing healing opportunity, and it's something that is a part of your soul's development. That was something you absolutely needed to experience and needed to go through. Otherwise, you wouldn't have manifested it in the first place. So what you want to do is you want to realize the feelings and the emotions that are then getting triggered through the separation. Allow yourself to be with these authentically and realize that your partner is not an evil person. They're not a bad person. It can seem like that, especially if they triggered core wounds in you and they acted off of those things and they, left you feeling abandoned or left you feeling not loved. Just remember that they're a human too, and they have their own trauma and they have their own protective mechanisms to try to keep themselves safe. So it's not that they're an evil or they're a bad person. They just have a wounded inner child as well. And whatever it is that they triggered in you emotionally, that is now what you are meant to be with. That is what you are meant to accept and what you're meant to love and acknowledge and nurture inside of yourself. This becomes one of literally the most important parts about getting through a breakup. Okay, make sure that you are viewing this from the lens of opportunity, because it really is, and acknowledge what you're truly feeling. So if you feel heartbroken and you are terribly sad and you feel empty, you have to connect with that. You have to honor those emotions. You have to honor whatever sensations are connected to those emotions. You want to be with that. Okay? Let yourself sink into that. Let yourself connect with that. Don't run away from that. Don't try to put on a mask and say, this is not what I'm feeling. Don't try to put on a mask and be overly happy and positive and act like everything's all good. Really connect with what you're truly feeling. Maybe you're really frustrated and you're angry and you're sad and you're afraid and you're depressed and you're lonely and you're feeling abandoned and you're all of those things. Connect with that. Give yourself time to grieve. Give yourself time to release those emotions, because those were the emotions that literally led to the stepping stone relationship in the first place. So make sure you are honoring your emotions in this process, because that's the reason why this manifested in the first place. All of those emotions that you're feeling when the breakup happened were emotions that were already in your nervous system from past trauma. And because you were avoidant to those emotions, or you were protecting yourself from feeling those emotions, you literally attracted this relationship that ended in the way that it did to resurface the emotions that you need to feel and that you need to have a healthier relationship with. That is one of the key proponents of exactly what it is that you need to know about this. Okay, so it is truly in these experiences, as painful as it is and as heavy as it is, this is unconditional love. There is real unconditional love that is driving this whole process. The universe wants the best for you. Your core wants the best for you. So trust the process, allow yourself to feel those things, and realize none of this was meant to truly re-traumatize you. None of it was meant to turn you into someone that you're not. It was meant to surface these emotions for you to connect with them in a healthy, integrated way. Now, that is exactly what we want to address from that process. And this is the next piece that I want to say about relationships. There are going to be stepping stone relationships. So some of you are going through breakups where that person is no longer meant to be in your life anymore. The energetic resonance has changed, okay? And that energetic resonance may change in such a way where you are not attracted to that person again in the same way. So when we think about energetic resonance, this is the energy field that we are constantly emitting from our bodies. And this energetic resonance is associated with how we are honoring our core and how we are allowing ourselves to be authentic in that way. So there are some people that have very different core values than what you have, and that in many ways can drastically change the resonance, where originally you might be attracted to someone in the beginning stages of a relationship, and the next thing you know, as you get deeper and deeper, you start realizing you're not really on the same page, or you're not really in alignment with that person, and then that's what leads to the separation that ends up manifesting itself. So when you are in that type of relationship, you have to be willing to let go of the person. And regardless, no matter what type of relationship, when there is a breakup that occurs, it is very important to be willing to let go. Especially if you're in the position where you feel like you were abandoned, or if you're in the position where you feel like there was some unhealthy behavior patterns that kept remanifesting themselves as cycles, then it's very important to be willing to let go. And if this is a stepping stone relationship, then that means as you're letting go, you're not going to reattract each other. You are now moving on a path that is in alignment with your heart and with your core, and that other person hopefully is moving on a path that's in alignment with their heart and their core, and both of you have different resonance. Now, there are going to be some of you that are going through breakups where there is maybe a little bit of a deeper core connection, a deeper soul connection. We could call these soulmates, we could call these twin flames. And the way that this one can manifest is, these relationships are very intense, they are very challenging, and they are not easy to work with. Now, does that mean that it's a bad thing or it's not a healthy thing? No. It's a beautiful thing, and there's so much room for development with these types of relationships, especially the types of wounds that end up getting surfaced between each person. But that also means that there can be toxic cycles and there can be toxic patterns that reiterate themselves and manifest themselves over and over and over. And in that situation, obviously, that's not a healthy situation. So there's a balance between being in a relationship and being willing to go into heaviness and being willing to endure pain that naturally comes with that as a form of growing pains. But then there's a fine line between that and actually going through an unhealthy, toxic behavior pattern over and over and over again, especially when you are doing your best to communicate what it is that you need and that need is not getting met. Because at that point, what is then happening is your inner child is being hurt, and you are probably, if you're choosing to stay in something where something keeps getting reiterated over and over and you're communicating it and it's not being met, that need is not being met, then you are actually sacrificing your inner child to go through the pain of what this other person is doing to you. Now, it's not that the other person is doing this because they want to hurt you, but they might have their own trauma responses that keep them in that cycle that they need to learn. So being in a relationship like that obviously is not healthy, and it would be important to reestablish some form of a boundary by potentially separating for a period of time or breaking up for a period of time to re-nurture that inner child, return back to the center, and hopefully in that time apart, both people can reflect and integrate some of the emotions that need to be processed so that there can be a better understanding moving forward at some point in the future. Because remember what I said, real love always finds a way to reconnect itself. So if you are in a very intense relationship with someone and you really love them and they really love you, but there's still a lot of toxic behaviors, sometimes that separation apart is a time frame where we have to reflect and we have to connect with our core and we have to see some of our own patterns that are unhealthy patterns and unhealthy behaviors, and what it is that we're maybe attached to that's not offering value in the relationship. And then as we get to work on those things, then there can be time for us to eventually come together again and reapproach it from a different lens. Okay, so there is a gentle approach. So this is kind of the difference between these deeper core-based relationships when you and the other person have core values that are very much so in alignment and you're both wanting to grow together. Even though it's not perfect and there might be separation that takes place, there's always room for things to come back together. Whereas a lot of the relationships that I think a lot of people find themselves in are the stepping stone types of relationships where, you know, you obviously love the other person, they loved you, but then it's like the deeper that you got into it, the more you actually saw the person that you were with and you realized they didn't align with your core. And that's hurtful because you've already invested time and energy into it and you kind of get attached to the person, and maybe there's different coping mechanisms that both of you share together that kind of keep each other away from the deeper emotions, and then that starts to dissolve, and then you realize that you're just not compatible. And then in that moment, there then is that separation and there's that breakup. So I know that that's not an easy thing to experience. I've definitely experienced it, but it is something that happens, and there is value in all of this. None of this happens for no reason, and there is so much potential for healing and growth in all of this experience. Okay? Now, this is the next piece I want to kind of go into with this video. If you're going through a heartbreak and you're going through a significant breakup right now, does that mean that you don't deserve love in the future? Or does that mean that you can't have love in the future, like true love, a real connection, like a solid bond with someone that you trust, that loves you, that you can stay in it with? The answer to that question is that's why we go through this process. Okay, as I said, relationships are one of the hardest things to navigate in general, and a lot of them just don't end up working out. So the goal is that is a lesson, that is a learning experience that allows you to process certain emotions, to heal core wounds, that then allows you to resonate with people that have more core value with you, that share a similar heart connection as you do. And every single one of you that is going through this has that in you. So there is a reality 100% where as you continue to honor your process, you will attract a new partner that is much more in alignment with your core values, loves you so much more than maybe the way that you were loved in this previous relationship, because it's a reflection of how you're starting to love yourself. So make sure you understand that this pain that you're in now, this feeling of this being traumatic, this changes within time, and you are now becoming more of a resonant being for something that can actually be longer lasting and a deeper core connection. And that is worth knowing. It's a beautiful thing knowing that you deserve love and love is on its way to you as you are honoring your process of loving yourself. So don't allow yourself to get bitter from this breakup. Don't attach to unhealthy coping mechanisms again as best as you can. Use this as an opportunity to be with the pain, be with the sadness, so that you can really feel through that process and honor what it means to now love yourself. Okay? That is definitely the next piece that I wanted you to know as we're talking about, how to get through a breakup. Now, some other advice on how to move through a breakup is oftentimes it can be really challenging when you are still in contact with the person that you are separating from. So if you are consistently texting the person even after you've separated and you know that this is not healthy, or you know that this is something that you're trying to let go of, keeping that communication line open can just keep some of these wounds active and kind of keep things drawn out in a way where it doesn't have to be like that. If you follow them on social media and you see them post like different Instagram pictures or different stories, or, on Twitter or, wherever else you might see them post, it can be a wise idea if you're wanting that phase to really let go and step into yourself again, to let go of following this person. So unfollow them from those platforms, maybe put their phone on hidden notifications so that you can really have time to kind of just be with yourself and not have to get that constant trigger of them, in your environment or them coming through social media platforms. Now, obviously, this isn't necessarily going to resonate or apply to everyone. Sometimes we break up with people and we actually go to physical locations where they are as well, whether that's the gym, maybe we work with them, whatever the case is, and that's fine. That is just more room to be able to work through the emotions and let those things go. But as I'm saying, that is a valuable tool that you can also implement to allow yourself to kind of clear your mind and recenter so that you can connect with your core again and realize everything's safe. Everything it is that you went through, it's going to be okay. This is your time to now nurture yourself. This is between you and your inner child now. So these are some of the main components that you need to understand to get through a breakup, okay? Everything that we talked about today, I think, is very important. I use these same principles when I work with my clients to help them better navigate these things, because I know breakups can be one of the most traumatic, hurtful, painful things that a person can go through. But when we understand what's going on in the bigger picture, and we understand that this is an opportunity and all of it is rooted in unconditional love, and that we truly do deserve love, and that love is headed to us in our life, then this allows us to better honor our process, connect with our true feelings, being authentic with ourselves, crying as much as we need to, being angry as much as we need to, feeling the fear and the loneliness as much as we need to, and then slowly releasing it as time is going on. This is what we can better honor when we understand what's actually happening here. So with that being said, this is going to wrap it up. I appreciate all of you. If you enjoyed this, please hit the thumbs up button, drop down in the comment section and let me know how you go through breakup. Let me know if you've been through a breakup. Let me know how you navigated that situation. Share your perspectives, share your own personal life experiences. I want to hear all about it, and I'm sure there are a ton of other people that also want to hear that as well, that are going through a really hard time and want to be able to add some extra perspective. Hit the notification bell and get notified when I post. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. That's going to further link you into this stuff. Share this with someone that you know that's going through, a hard time right now. Share this with someone that's going through a breakup that you feel like needs to know this and needs to hear this, so that they can remember there's a light at the end of this tunnel and there's a lot of beauty in this whole process regardless. Okay? Now, also with that being said, check out my Patreon. That's going to be the first link in the YouTube description. That's going to have tons of exclusive content on it that I have personally created. I've put a lot of time and energy into a whole host of different types of content, all the way from occult education, nervous system regulation, trauma education, ritualistic practices that I perform on camera and teach you how to do, a magic training course, really valuable stuff that is organized in different collection sections, which I'm also in the process of completely revamping myself right now. Okay, so that's the first link. Check that out. Tier 3 and Tier 4 of the Patreon gives you access to a ritual service that I perform on the 29th of every month. And this is a ritual service that is designed to support you through the deeper process of integrating your repressed wounds, your repressed energies, working with your shadow, finding more acceptance with it, merging with it so that you can start to work in cooperation and receive the benefits from the unconscious realm rather than the unnecessary resistance, so that you can better understand yourself. That is what this ritual is designed to support, and everyone who is Tier 3 or 4 gets access to it, and they also get access to something that is called the Atlantean Crystal Grid, which is an energetic matrix that I've created that is also meant vibrationally to support this whole process, and it can actually act as a remote channeling of energy to every person who is inside of that grid. All right, and I've been doing this for quite some time now, and it's a very powerful dynamic between the ritual and the grid, and a lot of people are taking advantage of it. There is over 1,150 plus members on the Patreon itself. That speaks for itself. So if this is stuff you're interested in, check it out. First link. Second link is where you can book one-on-one calls with me, or you can jump into mentorships. I have a 6-week and a 3-month. I am very passionate about these mentorships. I love working with any of my clients or any of my students. And if you are going through these hard times of breakup, definitely seek support. I am here to help you through your process. I promise you. Okay? If you're looking to heal trauma from the past and better understand how to work with it, and then create a healthy foundation to regulate your nervous system, I am also here to help you through that process. So second link, take advantage of it. Also in the same second link, you can book a tarot card reading with Alexia. She's very gifted at what she does. She can tell you what you're currently going through and then what to expect in the near future. So look into that. Third link is the LUCIFERS Foundation course, a very powerful course to build a healthy relationship with the energy that is known as Lucifer. Fourth link is going to be my YouTube membership. So if you want to become a part of the Universal Mastery family, fourth link. And then the fifth link is my book recommendations for you. So definitely take advantage of those book recommendations. And then below that, I have a host of different courses that you can also take advantage of. Okay, so we're going to wrap it up here. I appreciate all of you, and I hope you all have an amazing rest of the day or night, wherever you are. And I will see you on the next video. Peace.